before we actually look at the lockout procedure actually in play and actually locking out machinery, I'm just going to talk you through the lockout station we have here. Okay, so this lockout station's obviously got all of our equipment needed as in the procedure that are going to be used for the lockout operation. This lockout station will usually be situated on that cage that we saw just next to that safeguarding device. And that means that whenever that group of machinery is needed to go into and be locked out for maintenance or whatever it may be, all of what we need is on hand, and it's also quite easily identifiable of what is needed, so they also know what products might be missing. So obviously we look at lockout station, we've got our hasps, okay? They actually weren't in the procedure, but I'll show you what they're going to be used for later. We've got our tough tags, which are going to be used after we lock out the machinery. We're going to tag out the machinery. The silver locks, we've got our ops locks. So these locks are going to be used to actually lock out the machinery themselves. Obviously these are all keyed alike. So if I just take the key out of this one and put that one down there, take my ops 2, take the key out of that one, put that to the side. Here you can see my ops 1 key is going to be used, and I can open the ops 2 key. And all 4 of them are keyed alike, okay? So it just means it's a bit easier for the when they're being opened, the machines are being de-isolated. It's easier to find which keys are which. Next, we've got our black padlock. Okay, so this is our SAP. Okay, our senior authorized person. So remember, this person's responsible for the whole lockout operation, and this is the person who's going to go in, and they're going to be the person locking out the machinery. And they're going to be looking after the ops locks to do this. Then we've got our authorised staff, which are both keyed to differ. So this is owned by the individual, and they're going to be used so that the authorised staff can put their lock on the lockbox, and then they can go into the machinery. And I'll show you that once we do the demonstration. So I've got 2 authorised staff. So remember, they're internal as well. So these are employees of the company, okay? Now we move on to our external staff. So these are your contractors, okay? Red ones, we've got our external senior authorised persons, okay? So as part of the OSHA regs, contractors are not allowed to lock out machinery or be part of a lockup procedure without supervision. So that's where our external SAPs come in. And I'll show you how these are going to be applied in a demonstration in a moment. So that's all of our padlocks. And then we've finally got our GL quarter group lockbox, okay? Now we're going to look at the actual lockout procedure. So we've entered the machinery, okay? So we've gone past the safeguarding device. I'm going to take the role as the SAP, okay? So I'm going in as the SAP. So he's the owner of the black padlock with SAP on. I'm going to lock out all the devices so that it's safe for my team and also my contractors to enter the machinery and do some maintenance work. For the purposes of the exercise, to lock out this machinery, we've got our 3 isolator switches, as you can see here, and we're also going to be using the circle valve, okay? As you can see, the machine's on as the light's flashing. So now I'm going to enter the machine as the SAP with my silver ops locks, 4 of them, and also my tags, okay? I'm going to go in, I'm going to isolate the switch. So it was on, off, it was on, I'm going to turn it off. That's in the off position. I'm going to put my tag on the padlock. I should write my name and my product employee ID so I'm identifiable. And I'm going to put the padlock onto the isolated switch. It's locked out, it's tagged out, and I'm also going to try out, okay? And it's not working, it's locked out, it's isolated. And now I'm going to take the key, okay? So that's going in my pocket. Next one we look out is the valve. For this I'm going to use it's called a VS04 circular valve lockout, okay? If you're a bit confused why this is coming in a minute, don't worry about it. Let's just worry about lockout procedure, and I can go over this at another point. But I'm going to close the valve, lock out the valve, and also I'm going to put a lock on, put a tag on, lock the padlock, okay, again we've locked out, we've tagged out, and the valve's not working anymore, we've tried out. I'm going to put that key in my pocket with the other key. Now I've got another isolator switch, so grab my padlock, grab my tag, going to isolate the switch to turn it off, put my padlock on it, put my tag on it, and lock out the isolator switch. Now it's locked out, tagged out, and tried out. Final isolation point to make sure this machinery is going to be completely isolated. We've got a final isolator switch. I'm going to turn that off. The light's turned off, and that means that machine is now turned off. To ensure it's isolated, for the last switch, I'm going to lock it, put my padlock on, put my tag on, lock the padlock. Now it's locked out, tagged out, and it's been tried out. That machine is completely isolated now, so now I can take my keys back to a lockout station and I'll show what we'll do next. Now we're back at our lockout station. Obviously we've been to the machinery, we've isolated the machinery, we've locked it out, we've tagged it out, we've tried it out. The machinery is completely isolated. As the SAP now, senior authorised person who's responsible for this lockout, I'm going to put all the 4 keys which we use to lock out and isolate the machinery into our lockbox, okay? So they're going to go in there. Okay, once they're all in, close the machinery, and as the senior authorised person, I'm going to put a padlock on before anyone else does, okay? Now that all the keys are in that lockbox, and I've taken my padlock, no one can go and get into that lockbox. Okay, it's completely isolated. I'm the first padlock on. That lockbox cannot be opened, and the keys cannot be taken out to turn the machinery until I, as a senior authorised person, take that lock off. Now I've done that, I can start to look towards my employees, okay? So now we're going to look towards the authorised staff, okay? So our green padlocks. They want to go into the machine to do some work, okay? So here, my AP staff one, to go in to do some work, he's going to take his padlock, he's going to put it on the lockbox, and he's going to lock it and take his key. Now, even if the SAP takes his key off, or their key off, this box cannot be opened until that AP staff's lock is off. And they're not going to take their lock off until they're out the machinery and safe. Another member of staff's also going to go in, so they're going to also put their lock on. And now both them staff and the SCP can go into the machinery, and they know that they're safe, knowing that the keys are in there and the machine is isolated. Now we look towards our external staff. So this way it becomes a little bit more complicated. As you can see, we've got two sets of contractors who are going to do some work. Contractors themselves, employees, cannot be part of a lockup procedure without an authorised person overseeing them. So we're going to take our contractor one, okay? Our contractor one, external SCP one, is going to take a hasp, so another group lockout device, and they're going to put their hasp onto the group lockout box, okay? With their padlock. Now he's put the hasp on, that external, that contractor, that senior authorised person, that contractor company, can now put their padlocks on, okay? Onto the hasp. So that's one of the contract employees, and now the second one is going to put. So now that contract company, all them staff can enter knowing that this box is going to be locked out until all of them take their padlocks off, okay? So they've been looked after, they're safe. The second contractor company are going to do exactly the same, okay? So the external SCP of this contract company is going to go in with this hasp, or go onto the lockbox with their hasp, lock it shut, and put their padlock on to the MLH1 hasp. Take their key with them. Once they've done it, their singular employee can also do the same. And now, let's get that key out. Now, both these contract companies, their contractor employees can go in and know they're completely safe, knowing that the keys inside the box are going to stay inside the box until all of them have left. If all the staff are out the machinery now, the maintenance has been done, and we want to look at how we can reopen the machine safely. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to do it in reverse order. So first we've obviously got our contractors, so we're going to take the locks of our external contractors' padlocks are going to be taken off, so they can be put back on the board. So remember, this is for one of the contractor companies, this hasp, okay? So again, another contractor, we put that on our lockout station. And then finally, because both this contractor, authorised person's employees are out of the machinery safely as their padlocks are off, finally he can take his padlock off, okay? He would never do this before his employee padlocks are off the hasp. Put that one back on the board. Now we're going to go to our other contractor. So again, taking the contract employee padlock off first. Make sure we've got the right key. So there we go, now we've got our contractor employee padlock, that's now off, okay? Put it back on our lock station. All the contract employees are now out of the machinery. They've confirmed that by taking their padlock off. Finally, we're going to take our final contractor, authorised person padlock off with their hasp and put that back on the board, okay? Now all that's back on the board, the senior authorised person knows that everyone who isn't an employee of his company is out of the machinery and safe, okay? Now we're going to look at the actual internal employees, okay? So they can now take their padlocks off, okay? So these guys have left the machinery. They're going to come to the group lock box and they're going to take their padlock off. Back on the lock box. Our other internal employee back on the lockout station. Finally, now that every other padlock is off the lockout box, the senior authorised person can undo their padlock. They're always going to be the first padlock on and the last padlock off, because then they know that no one else is inside the machinery and it's safe to de-isolate the machinery and turn it back on. So the SAP is going to come, unlock their padlock, back on the lockout station. Now the lockout box can be opened. And the keys for the machinery, or the isolator, the operations padlocks, the silver ones, can be accessed. So now we have all four. Now we're going to go into the machinery and we're going to de-isolate it. Obviously now the senior authorised person, now that all the keys back at the lockbox, is going to go back in and de-isolate the machinery. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this valve off. Valve lock comes off. Tag goes away. Remember, these should be single use, so that's going to go in the bin now. Going to take de-isolate the switch, isolate the switch. So taking that padlock off, putting it back on our board. Tag again. That should be thrown away as it's been used once. Another isolate switch. Get the lock off. Tag's going to be thrown away. The lock can go back on the lockout station. And now for our final lock. That lock can be taken, put back on the lockout station. Tag's going to be thrown away. Oh, now they're all locked off. I'm going to start turning the machinery back on. And our final switch. And there we have the machinery back on. And now as the SAP, I'm going to leave the facility, close the gate and put that safeguarding back on. So now if anyone wanted to re-enter, they'd have to go through that procedure again.